You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios, live in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com. Streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Chatting with Cathy.
Hello, everyone. Bing is for doing, and today we are doing another episode of Chatting with Cathy on AfterBuzz TV. I'm your host, Cathy Kelly, and joining us today is Matt Dallas. Matt, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Matt, you've been on so many productions. You were in Kyle XY, which was your breakout role, and now you're back on Baby Daddy on ABC Family.
Yeah, it's been fun because it really has been almost like a mini Kyle XY reunion.
I know.
We even had a lot of the cast come to one of the tapings, so it was like a full Kyle XY reunion at one of them. So it's been a lot of fun, and just to get to like reconnect with Jean-Luc on screen has been a blast.
Yeah.
It's crazy too how much he's just grown. He's just like
Not
an
just
adult
physically,
now.
but as an actor as
an
well.
actor, but it's crazy. Even like we went for drinks just before, or we went to dinner. I mean, and I got there, and he was sitting at the bar waiting for me, and it was just like such a trip because the last time I'd been like working with him, he was underage.
Yes.
But anyway, it's been fun.
So I want to talk about your entire career, all of the projects that you've been on. I want to take it back to the very beginning, though. You grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. You're the oldest of 4 kids.
Yes.
So what was your family life like growing up?
I mean, family. I love coming from a big family. I love that there's 4 of us, and even beyond that, we have an extremely close extended family. So I've always been surrounded by like cousins and aunts and uncles and everything. And but I come from a family of like athletes, so it was different to be an actor. But my family's always been incredibly supportive, and so. I mean, I can't complain. I had a pretty great childhood.
Yeah. And I heard that your first role as an actor was the gander in The Ugly Duckling.
Yeah.
And your grandma actually took you out to audition for that role, and you just fell in love.
Yeah, that was. I mean, my grandma recognized that. I played sports growing up because that's what you do in Phoenix, and but she realized that that's just not where my passion was. I would have fun, but I was just like out in right field chasing bees and. Well, my dad was like the coach yelling at me to pay attention. So she took me to an audition for my first play, and from that day I just kind of knew that that's where I belonged.
And no one else in your family is really involved in the industry.
No, not at all.
So what drew you to acting?
I don't know. I think just like I said, like that from the time that I had that first audition for that play, it was like everything just made sense. I had found where I was supposed to be, and then there was never any turning back, and I just kept going and found myself in LA and eventually on a show.
That's crazy. So you ended up going to the Arizona School for the Arts and focused on theater there, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went to school there for a little while and loved it, and yeah, I did theater there. And
I read online that they have like a challenging curriculum in that you take 5 classes in the morning and then you focus on whatever project
well, because it was, I think, especially in Arizona, I think it was at the beginning of when charter schools were really kind of starting to find their way.
Yeah.
And especially being a performing arts high school, they didn't want to get a rep for like allowing the kids to kind of like slack on the academics. So it was extremely important for them to like push they called it a college prep school, but to push us to like to strive academically as well as artistically.
Do you think that you grew a lot more because your peers were also in the same boat, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. But it was also like a smaller school, so it was such a support system where everybody there was trying to achieve the same thing, and everybody was just passionate and so excited about having that opportunity. That it was just a great kind of environment to really grow and thrive.
And I know that that's also one of the top schools in Arizona. I read that it was top 4 in the entire state as far as academics go. Yeah.
Really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So You must be
cool.
a smart guy to comment.
Yeah. That's funny.
So when you were 18, you moved from Arizona to Los Angeles. How did your family cope with that move?
I remember moving there. Like, my parents helped pack me up and moved me out into my first apartment. And the entire trip, my mom just bawled. She just cried the entire time. The whole way out there, the whole way home. But it was sweet. And then, I'm the oldest of 4 kids, so I think even my parents were like, all right, he's out of the house, he's gone, now we got 3 more. Were incredibly supportive since the beginning, so it was cool. It was good.
And you had been focusing on acting for a while at that point, but were there any surprises when you moved out to Hollywood?
Yes, because, doing theater in high school is like everything is just kind of there for you and it's made easy, and you get to LA and I have no idea what to do, or like, how do you get a headshot, how do you get an agent, trying to figure all that out was definitely a challenge. I've been very fortunate that one thing would lead to another that kind of like put me on my path, but even still, it's so hard moving out here. So it's like anybody who has the guts to come out here and do it. It's just I have so much respect for it, because it is it's not like you're given no one gives you a playbook of okay, this is how you do it. You just have to figure it out.
Everyone just thinks that you move out here and the lucky get discovered and it's all just easy from there.
Yeah, It's funny because I was lucky that I met some of the right people that put me on that path, but even still, I wasn't like somebody that a director or producer walked in and went, I'm going to put you in a show or I'm going to make you a star.
Exactly. So what was the first thing that you did out here once you made the move?
Well, I did a few I did a few very campy kind of horror films. I did a play that did not, because I grew up doing theater, right?
Yeah.
Like we just talked, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna do theater. I'm gonna that's what I know how to do.
Yeah.
And I had a really terrible theater experience.
Oh, no.
That was just not great. So that kind of scared me away from the theater scene for a while.
Had you enrolled in acting classes at that point, or?
Yeah, okay, and
Okay.
so yes, I got into a class, and that actually was the best thing that I could have done, because even from there, you kind of you find yourself in a support group of other people who are kind of trying to do the same thing, and that was definitely the best thing that I did.
Mm-hmm. Any friends still from that class? I know a lot of actors, they say their first acting class is where they developed a lot of their.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I have a few of them that I still keep in touch with, kind of sporadically, that we'll kind of run into each other or make sure to make it a point to catch up. It's just so hard in this town, because it's you're always meeting so many new people, and even on films, you're constantly it's not like a normal job where you go and you are with the same people every day for years or whatever. You work together for a few months and then you move on. But that's also one of the most exciting things about this industry, is you're constantly meeting with and collaborating with new people.
Yeah. Speaking to that point of, you might have a job at one point and then it's a while until you get your next job. Did you have to take up a job outside of acting?
I did in the beginning. Yeah, I was waiting tables.
Yeah.
I was working in retail. At first it was because I moved out here without a car. I was taking the bus for my first year and a half living here.
Wow.
Yes.
Public transportation in
I know,
LA is
in Los
not
Angeles.
the best.
It was crazy. I'd spend more time trying to get to a place than I would actually spend at the place.
Did that hinder you in auditions? Just because you had to travel so far?
Well, before I started most of the day jobby stuff was before I was really auditioning, and then I started modeling a little bit, and then that was enough that it was paying the bills so that I could afford a car and I could have time off so that I could actually make auditions. So doing that actually changed a lot of it.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were in a lot of independent films, and then one of your first roles on a series was you had a guest role on Entourage, and that was kind of at its peak. Entourage was huge.
Yeah.
What was it like being on that show?
that was exciting because to me that was like my first big job, and it was like everybody was talking about Entourage, and I wasn't even a SAG member at that point. Like I remember I got the call from my manager saying they want to book you, but you're not SAG. And so it was like a mad scramble to figure out how I could join the union so that I could do this job. And I think I just like, even like showing up, I was so nervous. I didn't know what I was doing. It was like being on a real show, and but it was fun. And the guys were so nice, like as nice as could be.
How did you end up figuring out how to get SAG?
Well, it was a long story.
Okay.
I had to do some like background work on War of the Worlds, which was miserable. It was awful. It was like 3 a.m, like just running up and down a hill in the freezing cold for hours and hours. Yeah, it wasn't fun. It was like there's like 300 of you and you're just being herded like cattle.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I have like so much respect for background work, is like, or background actors, that like anytime I'm on a set with them, it's just like they deserve so much respect.
Have you done extra work before then?
That was my own. That's the only
Okay.
time I've ever done it. Yeah.
It is very...
Have you done it?
I did it like 2 days, just randomly because my friends had done it, and it's very interesting. Like,
yeah.
that they treat you as props almost.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they treat you like props.
Yeah.
Was it a movie or a
It was
TV?
for 90210.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Yeah.
So what was I know like Entourage was your first big role in your mind. What was it like seeing yourself on television for the first time?
It was exciting. I mean, it was definitely exciting, and it was like the first time seeing yourself on film too. It was like all these different, like, you're constantly just like over analyzing every little move that you made and the way that you said every little word, and so it was definitely a learning experience. And now I've kind of learned to just like let it go.
Yeah. Are you a perfectionist?
I am up until like the point of working, but I think, especially now in my life, I've kind of realized that if you spend too much time trying to make something perfect, then you're not going to be free. And you have to be, especially doing what we do, you have to be free. And so now I think you just like, you do the work and then you trust it, and then you have to let it go.
Sometimes some of your best moments come from flaws too.
Exactly. You learn from failing. So so I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So Kyle XY was kind of your breakout role, and you landed this job about 5 years after moving out here. So what was it like? I know there was so much buzz around that show. I actually remember visiting LA and seeing skywriting of Kyle XY in the sky. So what was it like to, like, what was your family's reaction to you being on a show that was so heavily promoted?
Yeah. Well, we had no idea that they were going to promote it as much as they did. So, and I was in Vancouver for most of it shooting, but yeah, I would have people texting me like, "Oh my God, they're writing who is Kyle XY in the sky above the beach, and your posters are all over the mall." And so it was a bit overwhelming, but again, it's like after 5 years of moving to LA and seeing all that happen, it's like your dream coming true, and it's just like, wow, like it's happening.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, one of the most thrilling and exciting times of my life.
And LA is one of the places where they promote those shows the most.
The most.
Billboards everywhere of you. Like, what was that
so
like?
Weird. It was so weird. It's so strange. Even now, when I think back on it, it's just so surreal.
So your family and their reaction to seeing it, I just want to go into that a little bit further. I know you said that they were always supportive. Did they, run out and tell all their friends, or?
Oh yeah, my grandma had signs in her front yard. She had like built a banner for the front yard of her house that said like, "Kyle XY is my grandson," or something like that, and it was cute. They would like have viewing parties every episode to watch it, and it's awesome. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
And you're really close to your grandparents?
Extremely close to my grandparents. Yeah.
I saw the Jimmy Kimmel interview with you, and you said that your grandma was so like upset with you not being on or something.
About not being what? Oh, on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. He had missed it for whatever reason, and
he was I don't remember why he was either sick or something, and then they wanted to reschedule, my grandma was still like, she didn't understand why I couldn't just do the show anyway. And I was like, well, Grandma, there's no show without Jimmy Kimmel. And she just did not understand that.
That's so cute.
But it's funny, actually, on the way over here, I was on the phone with my grandma, and she was telling me about how she just watched Baby Daddy last week, and she was giving me she's like, I'm not sure about your hair. She's like, and it's not just me. She's like, I wrote your fans on your Facebook page, or your fan page on Facebook, and they agreed with me.
Your grandma has a Facebook?
Oh, no. I'm gonna get so much trouble. Everyone's gonna go searching for my grandmother.
Oh no!
But she already like she talks to the fans and stuff. She's so
she
sweet.
She's like such a hoot.
She's the most amazing woman. But it is so funny. And I was like, oh, Grandma, you're gonna see this interview that I'm about to go to right now, and you're not gonna like my hair either. She gets so on me about it, but she's like my favorite person in the world. So I love it. Yeah,
that's adorable. So I know the audition process for Kyle XY was very, very quick.
Yes.
They cast it in under a week.
Yeah, it was like, I think they cast everybody on the show except for Kyle. And so I think there was like a mad scramble to find him. And my manager had actually been trying to get me in multiple times, and they just, because at that time I was still like new and
very few credits.
And very few credits. So they like weren't seeing me. And then finally I was literally like sitting in the waiting room, one of the last people to audition for it. And then from there, it was just like within a week, it was just like boom, boom, like network, director session, studio, whatever, the whole process. And I always found myself in Vancouver just like shortly after.
Yeah. What was the audition process for that like?
Well, I think anytime you're kind of like testing for a project, the stakes are just so high and there's so much pressure that it's just like nerve wracking.
Yeah.
So yeah, and especially being so green and young at the time that I had never gone through that process, it was just, but again, it was just something you just have to like dive in, you just go for it.
Yeah.
And it gets easier the more you do it.
Well, I know now you've had a lot of success. Was there any time that you went in for an audition earlier in your career that you didn't get it and you were really upset?
Of course. There's so many times where you go in and you're like, I was amazing, why didn't I book it? But then there's other times that you go in and like you've like all prepared and ready to go, and then you get in there and you just blow it for like whatever reason. So, but again, that's like just, it's all part of the process, and it's all like, you know, I really believe that everything happens for a reason, and it's about timing and things matching up, and I don't know, it's all just about the journey. So
that's how you overcome.
I mean, that's how you overcome, and you can't like take it personally when you don't get the job, or you just have to be like excited for the next opportunity.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Kyle XY was taped in Vancouver. It was over the span of about 3 years, right? And since you were there for so long, I know you got so close to your castmates, and you actually ended up living with one of your castmates.
Yeah.
How describe how you guys got so close?
Well, I think especially in an environment like that where you're on location and you go away and you're with these people, and they're the only people that you know in that city at that time. So you're with these people, you work with them, you play with them, like you're just together all the time. So you really do become like a family. And then so second season, when we went back for second season, April, who I lived with, she and I were just like, let's get a house together, and we rented this like ridiculous house that like hung off a cliff in Vancouver and overlooked the ocean, and it was fun. We had a lot of fun times in that house.
Yeah. I know you guys were also young at the time, but there were a lot of pranks like pulled on set.
Oh,
and
yeah.
What was the craziest one?
Oh, I don't even remember. I wish I had a good example for you, but I can't even think of it. But it was always like again, because we were such a close group, and even with the crew, we were so close with the crew as well, that it was just such a fun environment, and everybody was always happy to be there.
And I remember watching the show way back when, but then now looking back at it, I had no idea that like Corey Monteith was on it, and there are so many
Taylor
stars.
Kitsch was an extra in our pilot. I wouldn't want to say extra, but he was like a glorified extra. Yeah, and now he's like a movie star. It's crazy how many people have gone on and done
from that show.
Yeah, from the show.
Yeah. So you also worked with Hilary Duff in the ABC Family movie, The Beauty and the Briefcase, and you were rumored to be in her Bonnie and Clyde movie.
Yeah.
And that never really came to fruition.
I don't really. Even when we were working together, I was like, "So, do you know any more like what's happening with this movie?" And she's like, "I know just as much as you do." So, I don't know.
So was that complete rumor, like
no?
gossip,
It was
or?
supposed to happen, and I don't know. Every once in a while, I'll get the director will hit me up and say that it's still happening, but it's
Really?
been years, so I don't know what's going on
Yeah.
with that. She's probably gonna hear this and be mad at me because I don't know what's going on. But
I mean, that's 6 years ago at this point,
yeah,
right?
it's been years, so it would have been fun. I was actually really excited about the project because it would have just been so much fun to shoot and dress up and shoot guns. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old timiness.
Yeah, old timiness.
So, you are currently a recurring role on ABC Family's Baby Daddy.
Yes.
And this is a mini Kyle XY reunion on the show. You're in season 2, and you play the love interest of Riley, who is Jean-Luc Bilodeau's character's love interest as well.
Love interest as well. Yeah, they've built quite an interesting little love triangle, which it's been so much fun. It's like to go back and like play the guy that's making Jean-Luc's life kind of hell. It's been fun.
Yeah, I've only seen you've been in one episode so far.
Yes.
And or I guess they've aired one episode.
They've aired one episode. And I'm just introduced at the very end.
Yeah.
So this next episode will be like kind of the big episode where I'm really in it and stirring up the pot and causing trouble for Jean-Luc's character.
So did you go in for the role, or they just called you because they wanted that?
They called me for this one.
Okay.
But it is kind of funny because originally it was Jean-Luc was like, "You better take the offer." He texted me and I was like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." So then the actual offer came like a few hours after that. But it was just funny how it all happened. And that, again, like that set is one of the most fun sets I've ever been on. And this was my first time doing sitcom as well, or live camera, which is just a totally different experience.
Is that more similar to theater, since you have that live audience?
It's a little bit because you rehearse all week and then you essentially like put up the play at the end of the week. It's just there's a lot of stopping and starting, but it also like in between scenes and in between setups, like music is playing and everybody's dancing. So it's just such a fun place to be.
And that seems like a close knit cast as well.
They're super close, and how I'm just like the pranks on that show, like they're always up to something.
Like what? Have you gotten pranked?
I didn't get pranked. I pranked Derek. But it was actually the producer's idea because at the end of the episode, he has like a moment with like his love interest where she comes out from the bedroom, and we were getting ready to do like the last take of it, and the producers were like, Matt, go back and you come out. So I came out instead of his love interest and was like, "Hey, Danny." And he was just so caught off guard. I don't even think he knew how to react to it because he has like the audience and everybody's watching, the cameras are rolling, and he's just like, "Wait a second, that's not supposed to happen."
Yes, and
yes, and so it was funny. Yeah.
So you've done so many different mediums. You've done theater, you've done television, now you've done sitcoms, films as well. What do you prefer?
Well, I'll say probably the most fun has been like live audience, like sitcom. But what do I prefer? I don't know. It's so hard because they're all so different. There's something about being on a series that's like so incredible because you do, like I said, you really like form a family with them, and it's like nice to go to work with those people every day. And then film is just exciting because it is what it is. Like it's its own little piece of magic that's created, and you kind of just get to do it and work with all these people and then like let it go into the world and let it exist. And so there's something kind of magical about creating that as well. So I don't know. That would be a hard question to answer.
Okay.
To really pick my favorite.
So I know a couple years ago you went on a road trip with a couple of your friends and filmed a documentary featuring the lives of veterans who had come back from active duty. What was that experience like?
I mean, life-changing. It really was. Like, originally, Stephen Graham, who is writing or wrote the script, and the kind of the whole inception of the idea, like, started with him.
Because you were planning on turning this into a screenplay as well.
It will, yeah. It actually,
Thunder Road.
The road trip was research for the actual film. But when he brought me on, he was kind of telling me about the project because we did like a Western together, and he was telling me about the project and how we wanted to go onto the road and meet with veterans and actually sit down with them. And I was like, man, you got to do this. Like, that's amazing. And then that's when he like recruited me and was like, I would love for you to be a part of this project. And so we did. We just hit the road and like had faith that people would want to talk to us, because at first we could not get anybody to agree to meet with us. Because you think about like, you're like 3 guys from Hollywood want to come and make a movie. Like it's a little. I totally get it. Like
they're reluctant to share their stories.
They're reluctant to share, and we're asking them to divulge some of the most personal moments of their like experiences of their lives. But I think like once we got out and you would meet with one guy and then he would kind of vouch for you, and then it just kind of became like a chain reaction, or kind of grew that we would have more and more people vouching for us and knew what we were trying to do, and that our intentions were actually like to tell their story and positive, and we wanted to like shed a light on their experiences and what they're going through and their struggles now trying to reacclimate to this civilian life. But it was like heading into it, we thought, oh, this is just going to be a fun research road trip, and just some of the experiences we had and the stories we heard, it's like now turned into a whole new beast. Whereas like now we have like an incredible responsibility to really tell this story as truthful and honest as we possibly can. And we've made some of the most incredible relationships, and we still like talk on a regular basis, talk to all the veterans and the people that we've met along the road.
Do you have more of a, I guess, a respect for those in the military now?
Absolutely, because I think that it's hard, because I think we're now at a point where we've never been so disconnected from war as we are, because in the past, like World War II or Vietnam or anything, like it's been so, what's happening in war has been, everybody had been so affected, and it's just different. And now we've become a society where it's so much easier to just kind of like not think about it. And I hadn't thought about it. I never really thought much about it or paid attention to like what these guys are actually going through. And so now having my eyes opened, it's just like I have an incredible amount of respect for these guys, and it's just really sad that they come home and that they don't either reach out and get the help that they need, or they're just not getting the help that they need to kind of like get back into being normal civilians. And so that's what's kind of now so exciting about this project, is that we can kind of like help tell that story, and we can kind of shed a light on what they've been through to the masses.
As it was an eye-opener, what was the biggest thing that you learned from talking to these veterans?
I think for me, it really was how difficult it is to come home. And, you know, we had a lot of guys tell us they were more afraid to come home than they were to actually go out into combat.
Wow.
Because they just felt like they had been changed so much that they didn't even know how to come home and relate to their spouses or their parents anymore, because they just felt like such a different person. And they were so afraid of that some of them would be like, I would almost rather just stay here and be in the line of fire.
Wow.
So that was, I think, the most shocking thing to me, is to like how intimidating or how difficult it is to come back and just kind of start your life again. So that's what we've been, the actual screenplay for the film has been really trying to focus on that. But it's been like 2 years of developing that screenplay, and even that, like our story, we had a story and set, and then after meeting with everybody and collecting all their stories, our movie has changed like tremendously. It's a totally different story now, and most all of the events that happen in the movie are based on different events that have really happened to people.
Yeah. So when Stephen Graham first approached you for this movie, what was your initial reaction to it? Like,
well, my initial, I thought it was an incredible project, and that's why I was initially like encouraging him, like, you got to make this movie. You got whatever it takes. You like go on your road trip, just start writing it. And then when he asked me to be part of it and actually play a role in the film, I could not have been more excited, because it was something to be like, well, I mean, I'd been kind of searching for a project that I could be part of from the beginning anyway, because I wanted to start to get into producing and developing. And
this is your first time producing?
This is my first time producing. So to have a project like this, that was something that I could really get behind beyond just like a cool story. It had a real cause and something that, like, you know, as an artist, it's exciting to make something that might actually affect somebody or like have an impact. So I was just incredibly honored that he would have me.
When do you think that this will get into production?
Well, it actually, it just kind of leaked today on the internet. But we just shot a Kickstarter video because we had been taking all the meetings, and a lot of the people that we'd been, like, producers we'd been meeting with were like, well, you guys just aren't, I'm not going to give you money to make this with you guys as the leads because you're not famous enough.
Wow.
And so we were like, okay. And then we had other people who were like, well, it's just too depressing. Or even though, like, I mean, it's a drama, but you're just people that would find any excuse to not want to make the movie. So we were finally like, screw it. Let's just, you know, with the success of Veronica Mars and Zach Braff, we were like, we've been working on this for 2 years, and we want to make sure that we keep to the original intent of the project. And so we just said, let's like try and raise the money ourselves. And so we shot a Kickstarter video, and we weren't going to say anything about it till we were like ready to launch it, but it did leak today. So I'm pretty excited for that to kind of happen, and hopefully that'll be a path that will really kind of expedite the process and then allow us to really make the film that we set out to make.
Yeah, I think Kickstarter's so amazing, just because, especially you guys, you heard no, and then you decided to do it on your own. But have you ever used Kickstarter before? I never used it, but I guess I've used it in that I've like donated to people before in the past, and that I was like brought to my attention probably 2 years ago, and I think it's just an incredible way for artists or anybody who's just trying to get something started, because we do live in a new era now of like technology where you have the opportunity to just get out there and just make something that you don't need. Like for musicians, I think it's amazing that they can just make an album without needing a label, or that they can just like go out on tour without having to like get somebody to pay for it, that they can just do it all themselves. And I think it's really the future of making art, and so it's exciting to be part of that, and I'm like thrilled to get to do our version of it. Yeah, and it's definitely different from, you know, just being an actor to having a larger role in the movie behind the scenes. What originally made you want to get into producing?
Well, I think because I wanted to start to make stuff that I felt like was a true reflection of who I was, as opposed to just doing somebody else's work, which is still fun and part of the collaboration process. But I wanted to do something that I was like, this is me, and this is what I want to put out into the world. And so I knew that I wanted to get into producing. I didn't know, or just developing a project, whether that meant as a producer or a director or writer, whatever. But now doing this has like since inspired me to do like write other projects and like create my own short films and stuff like that, because I think it's, like I was saying, with like technology being what it is now, like it's so accessible and anyone, you can do it. It's just a matter of doing it. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I know that it's really, I don't know. I think that's why I was drawn to producing.
So producing will be something that you'll do in addition to acting, hopefully.
Absolutely. I think that this whole process has been so exciting that it even has made, like, listen, I still love acting. Acting is like what I do, but it has made it to the point where now I wake up in the morning and I'm so excited about creating this project that, like, sometimes like getting an audition becomes like an afterthought. I'm like, oh yeah, I still got to go audition for this, or I still got to like do that job. But it's just exciting to like wake up in the morning and have different hats to put on, and not be limited to just one thing.
I was actually going to ask you about a dream role that you would want to be cast for, but I guess a dream role that you could create yourself.
Yeah, it'd be something that I could create myself. And there's so many different things that I want to do. But I think I'm a big fan of like kind of fantasy worlds, or like movies that take you away to another world. And so like Baz Luhrmann is one of my favorite directors, Tim Burton. So I would love to do something like that. I think that's like would be my ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I went to the GLAAD Awards this year with our creator Maria Menounos, and I saw you there on the red carpet with your fiance now,
Yes.
Blue Hamilton.
Yes.
So congratulations,
Thank
first
you.
off.
Thank you.
And you came out to your fans on Twitter, which was a lot of people were like, oh, like that's interesting that like that was the medium that you choose to.
Yeah, I think. Without getting too much into it.
Oh, no, I don't want to pressure you at all.
No. I think because for me, it was never about like coming out.
Yeah.
It was just about that a major event had happened in my life and that I had gotten engaged.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to make a big deal about it because to me, there was so many other aspects of like who I am that just happens to be part of my life. And so it was something that I wanted to share and just have it be out of the way so that I didn't have to feel like I was hiding it. I wanted to be able to be in public with him. And
you two have been together for a really long time.
Yeah, we've been together for like, for like 4 years. So, so for me, it was just not about making some big announcement. It was more about just like, this happened in my life but there's so many other things that are like happening in my life as well.
Yeah. I actually heard several stories of people who they saw that and it helped them because they were, struggling through, having their family accept them or do you know of any, like, did that?
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the incredible things about things like Twitter or is that so many people have now like written to me and said like you've inspired me to ever come out or to be more true to who I am, and them saying that to me inspires me because it makes me realize that like what we do is not for nothing and that it's to be able to have that impact on somebody is just one of like the most incredible like special feelings ever. So it's been it's been really cool.
You have that platform now where you can create change.
Yeah. So, it's exciting.
You're blushing. It's so cute. So moving forward in your career and in your life, what do you hope to accomplish?
I think I hope to continue doing what I love and what I'm passionate about, and whether that changes or stays the same is just to like always be evolving and just kind of doing what makes you happy. And so I mean I hope to accomplish making more films. I hope to accomplish a family, and I hope there's like so many things, but every day is a new journey, and so you just kind of wake up and say, all right, world, what do you have for me today?
Cool. So this is our shameless plug time.
All
You
right.
can talk about
Let's
anything
plug
that you
something.
want.
Well, I mean, honestly, we kind of already did.
I
The
know.
one thing that I really would want to plug is like the Thunder Road, and
Yeah.
because it's something that I've obviously been working on for the past 2 years. But there will be many more details to come about the Kickstarter and the actual process of getting that made.
Do you guys have a budget set for that yet, or?
We've been like working on getting a whole budget, but that's part of why we're not necessarily launching yet, because obviously the amount that you ask for in your Kickstarter video is all dependent on what the budget is for your actual film.
And I forgot to ask this earlier,
Yeah.
is Thunder Road going to be a portrayal of more current or recent veterans coming home, or?
Yes,
from the past?
it'll be the
Okay.
current conflicts. So like everyone
Afghanistan, Iraq,
and
okay.
Iraq, and those guys coming home and trying to like come back into society. It actually follows Steven's character as like the lead, and then I play his best friend, and kind of like our different journeys. And then Charlie Bewley, who's our third producing partner, he represents the British involvement of the OIF and OEF, and so it's kind of like we also kind of had tried to set it up so that each one of us kind of represents like a certain kind of, I don't know, struggle, or somebody who's like coming home, and the different ways that people deal with coming home.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So people can expect to look out for the Kickstarter for that.
Yes, eventually.
And then
Baby Daddy.
they can also find you on Baby Daddy Wednesday nights on ABC Family.
Yes.
You are going to be in 6 episodes this season.
Is that how many? I'm terrible.
Something around.
I mean, something like that. I'm around for like 6 episodes.
6-ish.
Yeah, 6-ish.
And then Twitter, where can they find you?
You can find me at the Matt Dallas. and Instagram. I'm on there. The thing is, I'm terrible at social media. I'm
Really?
terrible at Twitter. I do I get on it and I read them all, but so I'm on there. This is terrible. I shouldn't be saying that I'm bad at it, but I'm trying to be better. But for me, because it really is about like being able to connect with fans and I have a hard time sometimes tweeting about what I had for lunch. So
Well,
I know you're
that's not how you do Twitter.
so I usually like when I say something, I try to like it to actually be
Meaningful.
some substance. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
It's
trying to
crazy
get
how
better at
many
it.
like people I hear that from, that they hate Twitter or they don't know how to use it or whatever.
Yeah, I'm getting better. And it's not that I hate Twitter, because I think that Twitter is like it's just presented incredible opportunities to be able to
Yeah.
connect with fans and be able to like have a direct link with them has been awesome.
Have you had a lot of fans on Twitter like, say positive things and reach out to you in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It's
what does that
been-
mean to you?
I can't. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, like it's just like I was saying, like to be able to realize, to see that you actually have an impact, or that you're like you're make a difference in people's lives, and for them, I don't think they realize how much of a difference they make in your life by the things that they say, and not just because like, oh, we're a fan, but some of the words that they offer and the amount of support that they offer is like it's I don't know, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, because that's something. I mean, social media wasn't really around 5 years ago, and up until very recently, actors, musicians, everyone in the industry really hasn't had that opportunity to hear feedback as much.
Exactly. So I think it's exciting.
Yeah. Okay, well, be Matt Dallas on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Catherine Kelly. Make sure to check out Matt Dallas on Baby Daddy and in his upcoming film, Thunder Road. So, Matt, thank you so
Yes.
much for coming in
Thank
today
you
and
for
joining us.
having me.
You were great. So, until next time, we will see you then.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.